Launch code. Access granted. A millionaire.
Hello, welcome to GED exam preparation class. I am your host and instructor, Ruben Herrera. And on this lesson, my friends, we are going to learn how to measure the volume of three-dimensional figures. Okay, so let's get started. I like to start first by defining what the volume is, my friends. Okay, the volume can be defined as the three-dimensional space occupied by an object. Finding the value can help us to determine the amount required to fill an object, like the amount of water to fill up a water bottle or a water tank. Okay, so the volume is pretty much just measuring all the space that is inside of a three-dimensional figure. Okay, so let us go ahead and start by learning how to measure the volume of a rectangular square. Okay, and this is what a rectangular square looks like. And the formula to measure the volume of a rectangular square, we can use the same for the cube. Okay, so the volume is the formula for the volume of a rectangular square is volume is equals to length times width times height. Okay, with the length, remember my friends, being the longest side, which is 6. The width is the shorter side, which is 5. And then the height, which is how tall this three-dimensional figure is, which is 4. Okay, so the next thing I'm going to do, and like always, my friends, I'm going to, dissect the process of how to solve for this for you. The first step is going to be to substitute my variables for my values. And it's going to look something like this. Very nice. So right here I have 6, which is this right here. That's my length. And then I have my width, which is my 5, is this right here. And then the 4, which is my height or how tall the shape is, and it's right here. Now, all we have to do is multiply this to figure it out the volume. And let me tell you a secret, my friends. Although you're not going to be tested on your GED test to see which one is the length, the width, or the height, you can just multiply these three numbers and it really doesn't matter. I'm just being politically correct and I'm substituting the values on the correct space. And I like to do this because, I'm a very neat person. But however, it doesn't matter on which way or which order you multiply these numbers, if you think about it, because on multiplication, the order of which we multiplied the numbers, it doesn't really matter. So I'm going to multiply 6 times 5 times 4, and that will be equals to 120, my friends. And therefore, I can say that the volume for this rectangular prism is equal to 120 cube or cubic, whatever measure is, whether it's centimeters, whether it's inches, and what is yards. We always, whenever we solve for the cube, our result always has to be accompanied by that little bitty 3, and make sure that you select the answer with that small 3 right there, my friends, to the third power, because if not, you're gonna be selecting, if you don't do that, you're gonna be selecting the wrong answer. So always put that little 3, the 3 exponent right there with your result. And this is how we measure the volume for the rectangular square prism. It's very simple. Okay, very nice. Now let us find out now. Let us measure what is the volume for a cylinder. And this is, what a cylinder looks like. Very nice. These are our measurements. Notice that we have the radio right here, and then we have the height, how long the cylinder is. My friends, always be aware that your GED exam, when it comes to anything that is circular, your GED exam may trick you. They might give you the diameter of 8. Okay, just always remember that the radius is always half of your diameter. Okay, or your diameter is always twice the radius, whichever way you want to look at it. So never forget, always be aware of that. Okay, so now the formula for the cylinder is this, my friends, is volume is equals to pi times radius square times the height. We're going to multiply those three thingies right there. And what I'm going to do next, I'm going to substitute my variables for my values. And now this is what my formula is going to look like. This is my pi right here, which is equals to 3.14. my radius is square, which is right here, my 4 square, and then my height right here, this h right here, which is represented by this 6. Now, my friends, at the time when I'm doing these problems, I'm using my calculator, and you can actually input 3.14. That will be fine. Me myself, at the time I'm doing these problems, I am using the pi key on my calculator, so your result might be just a few digits, just a couple of decimal numbers off, okay? But do not be afraid. Your answer will be, however, will be correct. And make sure whether if you use pi, the pi key on your calculator, or you input 3.14, there's going to be a difference on the decimals. I think I explained that earlier in our geometry lessons. However, you guys make sure that you select the answer that is closer to the answer that you have or that you came up with. Okay, so now the next step I'm going to do based on the order of operations, I'm going to go ahead and solve for this 4 square, which is going to be equals to 16. Whoop, there it is. Very nice. So notice I did an extra step just to solve for this 4 square. Okay, so next I'm going to multiply pi, which is 3.14, times 16 times 6, which is going to be equals to 301.59, and therefore the volume for my cylinder is going to be equals to 301.59 cubic, or to the third power. Always remember to put that little 3 in there, my friends. Very nice. So, and this is how we solve, or this is how we measure the volume for the cylinder. Let us look at one more example now. Actually, it's a different example. Now let us learn how to measure the volume for the cone, okay? And this is what the cone looks like. The formula to measure the volume for the cone is the following: pi times radius squared times height, and then at the end we're going to divide it by 3. This is the easiest formula for me, my friends. There is another formula going around that has like 1/3 right here in front of the formula, and this tends to confuse some students because they say, oh, wait a minute, I'm just now learned this formula, now you're telling me that I also have to deal with fractions. Well, that fraction is just really telling you it's going to be a 1/3 in front of that formula, and it's just telling you that it's just 1/3 of the result of that. Or at the end, you can just divide your result by 3, which is what I do. Okay, so let us go ahead and now solve for this. The first step is going to be to, the next step is going to be to substitute my variables for my values, and this is what my formula is going to look like. So I have the pi 3.14 times 4 squared times 5, and then divided by 3 at the end. Okay, my next step is going to be just to solve for this 4 squared, which is going to be 16, and it's right here for you. Very nice. Now I have pi times 16 times 5, and at the end we're going to divide it by 3. So I'm going to multiply these 3 numbers first because I have to do this by the order of operations. I'm going to multiply these 3 figures first, and that's going to be equals to 251.32. Okay, the next step, I'm going to divide it now by 3, and that's going to be equals to 83.77, and therefore now I can tell that the volume for this cone is equals to 83.77 to the third power, or cubic, or cube, tomato, whichever way you want to call it, for this purpose is gonna be okay. Okay, very nice, my friends, and this is how we solve, or how we measure the volume for the cone. And this is about the 3 main shapes that you are going to get on your GED exam, which you're going to have to measure the volume for. Okay, thank you very much for being on this lesson. I hope that you enjoy it and that you learned from it, and have a great day.
Launch code. Access granted.